And this is where validation comes in, right? So looking at why startups fail is because they actually haven't identified product market fit. Okay, and this is a key thing that you have to focus on when you're building. You have to actually validate, and the why you want to validate is you want to make sure you're building the right features. Um, and that's obviously we're going to go into how to go about that. Speaking the right language, you want to make sure that you're reaching the right audience and you're crafting the correct messages. And then as well, it's the more that you validate, it's going to definitely increase your chance of success. So if you read the book The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, I mean, one of his famous quotes is, the only way to win is to learn faster than anyone else. And I can't stress that enough. Validation is about learning. And the biggest trap that founders get into is they have this hypothesis of this idea that they want to build. They want to build the new blockchain startup or the new AI startup that's going to solve a problem. They keep focusing on the solutions and not on the problem. And that's why it's so important to put your hypothesis, your idea of what you think is success, and put that aside and think of this as an experiment, and remove any biases. Because when you get biases with your idea, it's guaranteed to be a failure. You're going to get stuck in a big trap. And I see this on an ongoing basis. Okay, so problem first. Einstein said it. If I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution. So narrow down your problem. So I'm going to go into more about how we can go about this. Okay, the easiest way is surveys. Okay, so read this book called The Mom Test. I can't stress it enough. But what it comes down to is that you're going to you want to remove your bias against your idea, and you actually want to narrow down the actual problem, how big the problem is, how much of a pain point it is, and what customers are willing to pay to solve the problem. And once you've narrowed that down, then you can start getting your ideas. But if you don't have this core foundation set, you're going to run into a lot of problems. And problems being getting team buy-in, getting your developers focused on what they need to build, getting investors to buy into your startup. If you don't have that problem at the core and center, you're wasting a lot of time and energy. You will see during this course, I'm going to be linking to the AI prompt guide, and this is a guide on AI prompts you can use to help you along this journey. So let's get in there quickly. So I'm going to go on the first one on about setting up research first surveys. Okay, so here's survey for validation. Okay, so here's a good prompt. Help me draft a questionnaire for a customer survey for a new startup called Petbox. And why I mentioned Petbox, I'm going to be taking you through a journey on how to validate a pet startup. Okay, so for a new startup called Petbox, I'm building to focus on the pain point and extract willingness to pay for subscription boxes for services for pets. Please use tips from the book The Mom Test. I always kind of throw that in, so it brings in that methodology when it's going through the questions. So you'll see here, tell me more about your fluffy friend. When it comes to taking care of your pet, what are some things you find the most? Think about the last time you bought. Okay, now we're talking about the willingness to pay, the intent, and what and any qualitative feedback that comes out of it. I've actually thrown in examples for Uber and Airbnb as well, so you can see that as well. So let me take you through some examples I've done in the past. Okay, so as I mentioned, I launched a product called Surf Diary, and my bias of Surf Diary, or my hypothesis, was that I wanted to build a startup to track my surf sessions. I thought that was important, almost like Strava does for running. I wanted to do that for surfing. So I almost fell in the trap of just building straight away, and I thought, let me just stick to my own guns here and actually just run this through. And the more I ran surveys, the more I realized that people are more interested in getting footage from surf photographers. That was the biggest pain point. And using that footage to ultimately help them to surf better, to get feedback on their surfing, or to share on their social networks for bragworthy, just to brag about what they've been doing, you know? And that's the pain point there. It wasn't tracking surf sessions. I'm a big data freak, so that was my hypothesis, okay? Then I got down to willingness to pay. As you can see here, people were willing to pay for that, okay? And let me go to another example. Pitch Perfect was an idea I had to solve the pain point of founders going to pitch their startups at these big events and spending lots of money traveling all over the world to get there. And I realized this is a massive pain point. Out of the responses, there's a good like 80% saying they wanted feedback on their pitch. Okay, so we've got the pain point and the willingness to pay. You know, at least 50% of them were going to pay $50. So there you go. You hit it. There's an incredible little sweet opportunity there. And then this is quite interesting because this is an offline opportunity. You know, my wife's got a food club. She did launch a food club within our local area to help people with fresh produce. And I said to her, before we go down this path of spending time and money, you know, and I actually want to stress time. Because money, it does get expensive, but actually time is your most expensive asset when it comes to launching a startup. So, so we ran the survey, and it turns out, yes, there was a big pain point. People were struggling with getting ethical, fresh produce. You know, they couldn't get it, and they were willing to pay for it. Okay, so let's, so that's kind of maybe some three like little bit examples. Let me give you some tips to when running these surveys. I think it's very important to get the contact information. When you're getting people to fill in these surveys, you can actually ask them for their contact information and ask them to opt in. And if you hit these two sweet spots, you've just landed your first customers. You know, off the bat, you haven't launched a product yet, you've done no marketing, and you could get 50 customers that say, you know what, I want to join you along this journey on solving this problem. Please keep me updated. And then what you want to do is ask open-ended questions to get qualitative feedback. So let me just go to some examples.